Hey y'all, welcome back to Same Old T. I am T. And today's video, as you can see from the thumbnail, is me talking about leaving the 9 to 5 life and moving into my nurse entrepreneur era. Okay. So I have been an employee for the most part full time since I was 23. I'm 49 now. If you've been following the channel, you know I used to be a teacher and now I'm in the nursing healthcare field. I am a registered nurse as well as board certified family nurse practitioner. So um, I've been working a long time for other people. And so during that time, I've always had a side hustle, right? I used to do braids. I was a real estate agent. I was a landlord. What else? I've been a rep for different MLMs. I have a sister log business right now. Um, I also have done crafting, and made money that way. But so as you can see, I've always had like that entrepreneur spirit. My dad used to always say, "Oh, you my little entrepreneur." And I used to just couldn't stand that because, like, back in the day, the only people I knew who was walking around talking about I'm entrepreneur was like the DVD man, the guys, selling bootleg DVDs. So I used to always kind of associate that with, like, a little bit of shadiness or whatever. But as I got older, I understood what he meant by that, and what it truly means to be an entrepreneur. So leaving the 9 to 5 life, I officially left the 9 to 5 life August 27th of this year. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about that story and how it pushed me to go into full time entrepreneurship a little bit faster. That was always the goal, but pushed me to go a little sooner. So, anyway, this last job I had, I got hired. I wasn't looking for a job on my NP license. I was only looking for a job on my RN license because I had my clinic at the time, but it was still in, the baby stages. Sorry, y'all, your allergies kicking up. So it was, still in the early stages, definitely having enough patients to cover rent and expenses and things like that. And maybe give myself a little something here and there in regards to income. So I could have made it, paying my bills and things like that. But at this time, they were really talking about, like, hey, this is your last little push if you're trying to get your loans forgiven. So I was like, okay, I need to probably find a job that is going to qualify because I knew, or at least uh, from what they were telling me, all my time as a teacher should have covered as far as qualifying. But the little kicker is, in order to get the loans forgiven, you had to kind of, at the time that they say, yep, you've met all the requirements, you have to be somewhere that qualified. So that was the bigger motivation, right? The money would come from the clinic. I wasn't worried about that, but it was like, oh, I could get, these loans taken care of because that's my biggest expense. That is my biggest expense is student loans. So, put out some resumes, some applications, things like that. End up getting a job with an FQAC. If you don't know what that is, that's like your free clinics, low cost clinics. And I had got hired as a registered nurse case manager. And I wasn't doing much. I wasn't doing really anything. I was just doing prior authorization. So mostly for, like, medication, certain medications, maybe a couple of procedures, ultrasounds, things like that. Wasn't a hard job at all. But I did struggle because prior to that job, I used to do contract work and it was at home. And it was basically all kind of COVID related. So I was either overseeing nurses doing tests, but I was doing it remotely, or I was doing like some type of follow up with COVID because when I graduated from MP school, I was it was during COVID. Like, I finished October 2020, passed boards December 2020. So it was, like that first official year. But things had started improving. We had, remedies in place. I don't know what I can say on YouTube, but not, we had things in place, to kind of help um, not cause people to either get seriously sick or pass away. So when I got the job, the case manager job, I was struggling because with my previous quote unquote job, I was at home. I didn't work 5 days a week, and I got paid really, really well. Right. So I just figured, okay, this is just me adjusting from a very flexible type situation to very rigid, right? Even though the job was only 10 minutes from home, from the time I pulled out my driveway to the time I was like clocking in. So like I said, the job itself wasn't hard. But it was just the climate and culture was just very dry, just very scary. Some people think that leadership is, or effective leadership is, ruling by fear. So you had a lot of people who were fearful. It just was not the best fit. But I'm trying to hang in there to get these student loans forgiven. So I don't even think I was there. I think I started in February of 2023. And I want to say by July of 2023, they came to me with another opportunity. And they were like, we would like for you to basically be an OB/NP, but I wouldn't see the patient. So everything I would do would just be like remote, virtually, triage, like, um, making sure prescriptions went through, things like that. So more like the administrative side, but because they needed someone with prescribing authority and things of that nature. And I'm like, okay, it's fine. I wasn't gonna have to move or anything like that. But they were paying me a certain amount at the RN level to do pretty much. When I say it was so nothing. Like I would be done in an hour. So now I'm trying to figure out how to look busy for 8 hours, okay? Or another seven and a half or whatever. So I'm like, okay, maybe it'd be a little bit, help the day go by better. So I took it, but they only gave me maybe like 8 grand difference. And it's like, but now I have more on me. Do you know what I'm saying? Because now I'm working on my provider license. So it's more liability, more like a higher, I don't know why it's escaping me, but hopefully you understand what I'm saying. Like when you're working on the RN license, it's somebody over you, with more at risk. I don't know why I can't think of the words, but when it's you, the provider, you're the one, And but I went on. My husband's like, "Oh, just go ahead. You just hanging in there until you get your student loans forgiven." So was doing that, and it was okay. It was okay. But then it started getting on my nerves. I was like, I'm over this. Um, it just was like I'm over this, and I was like, I'm I I'm not going anywhere. And I knew what the long term goal was to just get the student loans done, forgiven, and then move on. Focus back on the my clinic, full time. But I was getting all this rigmarole with the student loans, and it was just like, okay, okay, okay. And so I was pretty miserable, and I was just surviving because they micromanage everything in regards to like your time. So I had never been a salary employee and had to, swipe in and out for lunch. So you sitting here literally counting the minutes and the seconds, and having to make sure that you got this and that. And basically they wanted you to be there 42 hours, 42 and a half hours a week. And I'm just like, don't pay, like, most places they may not pay you for lunch, right? So you're gonna get a check on 37.5, right? They're gonna take 30 minutes out every day. But when you salary, nobody is having to punch out. And it was just like, this is so stupid. I had never had a salary job where I had to punch out. Even when I was salary, so to speak, for those contract jobs, They just took that 30. Like, I'm at home. They don't know if I really took 30 minutes or 40 minutes because the work got done, kind of thing, right? So all these little things just started to eat at me. Um, and then, like I mentioned, just leadership, just uh, I always want to like go toe to toe with you. And it's like, ma'am, you have your credentials and expertise in health administration and management. You can't tell me nothing about the clinical side of it. So that's what I'm trying to explain to you. And you just, at least for me, and I'm gonna do a video about I know what triggers me when people like call themselves trying to talk down to me. I know where it comes from, where it stems from. I'm gonna do a story. I'm gonna do a video about that, recognizing like childhood traumas or what have you. But so you just got that. The fact that I'm there and I feel like I'm just all over the place. I'm trying to build up my clinic. I still have my, thriving Sister Lock business. My husband, trying to be good to myself. It was just like, okay. So the final straw was my mom ended up finding out she had to have open heart surgery in April of this year. Now, mind you, the PTO was bare bones, if I could say that. Like, I feel like for me to have 4 degrees and I'm coming with all this experience and things of that nature, first you lowball me with the salary, but I took it, so I'll take the blame there. Um, 2 weeks, 2 weeks of vacation, and I think 5 days of sick, and I think 2 or 3 personal business, and a handful of holidays. But it's like, as a grown woman who almost 50 years old with 4 degrees, that wasn't getting it. Because now it's like you can't even have a mental health day. Because it's like, well, wait, we got this vacation coming up in 3 months. So I gotta I was just miserable, y'all. So I had just got some of my time re you know reissued this past February 2024. Then boom, March, my mom found out she got to have open heart surgery. So I'm like, okay, I think at that time I only had maybe a week's worth of time available because that's how the PTO was like per paycheck. Like it wasn't like giving it to you all at once kind of thing. So I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna take no pay. I'm just gonna take no pay for 2 weeks. And it was like, no, you can't do that. And it's just like I had never experienced this. I had never experienced this. When I was a teacher, I never experienced this. I've never experienced this on a job where I couldn't take no pay and things like this. Like I say, micromanagement and just very rigid, very rigid. So I'm like, okay, I'll do the FMLA. And when I tell y'all, every single day from the moment I told them, which I gave them probably at least 3, 4 weeks notice from the time my mom found out and got the surgery scheduled. And every single day I was getting multiple emails from everybody about, we haven't received the FMLA and if it's approved, if it's approved. And so they kept saying, if it's approved, if it's approved. And I kept thinking like, I don't give a darn if y'all approve it or not. I ain't gonna be here. Like, I'm not gonna be here. My mom is having open heart surgery. Y'all could kiss my grits. This job, this position, no disrespect, these patients. I'm going to take care of my mama. And so when that happened, nobody ever, I did everything I could working with the people. You know how stuff go. You call the office, they say, oh, we filled them out, we faxed them. Then your job is like, we ain't get them. They think you lying. Like, that's what made me feel like, you think I'm going to lie and say I'm going on FMLA, that my mom had open heart surgery? Like, it just was so irritating. Anyway, so finally got them everything they needed. My mom had the surgery, everything went well, and I was out maybe a total of 3 weeks. But by the time my mama came home, I was like, I'm leaving. I was like, I'm leaving. I was like, I am a grown woman with a thriving medical practice, healthcare practice. I'm leaving. I was like, I don't like this. I didn't like who I was becoming. Like, I hate to say it, I felt like I was a slave to them. Like everything in my life had to be, um, arranged around them and what they say and what they, da 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 da. So yeah, I was like, I'm done. But here's the thing, y'all. And I know y'all be like, I know some of y'all like T, you so smart, between the JWs, not his job, like, girl, I really am. I am smart, but sometimes the devil will get in your head and you don't think you doubting yourself, or you trying to see the bright side or what the possible outcome could be, and you just try to push through. But sometimes you just got to throw your hands up and say, now, if it's meant to be, then it's gonna have to be this way, because this way ain't getting it. So when I made the jump from RN to the NP position, they made me sign a provider contract. But this contract is really more so for people who see patients, right? To make sure you're not leaving them high and dry, right? If they're letting patients book out 6 weeks, they want to make sure that they have, if you were scheduled to see those people, they'll be covered. So, but they still made me sign it, even though I did push back on some of the terms. Some of them they did give, some of them they wouldn't. So the one that they wouldn't give was I had to give 120-day notice. You heard that correctly. 120, right? But in the back of my mind, I'm like, they ain't gonna hold me to this. They're gonna be so pissed that I'm leaving or whatever, that they're just gonna probably just be like, you know what, today your last day. Because I had seen them kind of do that to people. Not nobody that was a provider, but other people that I felt was essential to the running of the clinic and all that stuff. So I come back from leave. I put my my resignation in, and they kind of panicked, and they was like, "Oh, think about it, take the weekend and all this stuff." So I played the game like, "Okay, I'll think about it." That Monday, first thing I did when I logged on to my computer was like, "Yeah, thought about it, nope." And so was waiting for them to be like, "Well, Friday, your last day," or you were gonna let you go after we found somebody to replace you, or that never came. So then I'm like, okay, let me address it. And they was like, no, you staying 120 days. And when I tell y'all, it was like, on one hand, freedom, but on the other hand, if I was like, this is how people in jail must feel when they know they like on their last 90 days, they last 60 days. It's like, on one hand, they like, oh Lord, it's almost here. But on the other hand, it's like, oh Lord, I still got to, do these days. And when I tell y'all that 120 days was rough, I had no PTO, because the little bit that I did have, they did make me exhausted before the FMLA kicked in with my mom. So you just like getting up every day and going. And when I tell you, when August 27th came, Lord have mercy, I was so happy. I was so happy. And so I have been slowly getting myself like into a groove, right? So being a nurse entrepreneur, a full-time entrepreneur, it's not easy. It's not for the weak. I probably do work way more hours than that 42.5 that I was working for them. But the beauty is I determine when the 42.5 is, like I tend to wake up at least 7 a.m. But guess what? If I want to lay here and woosah or play my game on my phone or drink a cup of coffee or watch the last part of Snap from last night because I fell asleep, I can do it, you know? And then I can say, all right, T, at 8:30, we're going to start working. Do I work? Do I do something with my clinic every single day? Absolutely. Even if it's just, I do weekly follow up with my patients that are part of our medical weight loss program. I, I'm sending them texts and messages and answering questions and things like that. But for the most part, on on a day where it's a lot of people to follow up, it's probably usually not even an hour, right? So, and I'm doing it at home, right? Sometimes with my pajamas still on. So I just like having control over my day. I like having control over um, the comings and goings of the clinic, right? I determine who I will serve here, right? I have declined patients sometimes because it's just like, don't think you're a good fit here. That feels good to have that kind of ownership to be able to do that versus, just having to deal with the crap of other people. That's what I had to do in that OB MP position. I used to take a lot of the crap for the OB providers that were actually seeing the patients. I was the one. I felt like the clean up woman. That's what I started calling myself because everybody would come and, oh, can you fix this? Can you do this? Can you? They didn't put the order in. And I was like, I'm the doggone cleanup woman. So that is my little story about the 9 to 5 life and saying, goodbye to it. Now, am I one of those people who pride will, hold them back from, having to get a 9 to 5? Lord forbid that was to happen. Absolutely not. I'm somebody who I like having my bills paid. I'd rather have all my needs taken care of and none of my wants because I can sleep at night. Okay. So, but right now it's good. Like I say, I get to control my day. For the most part, I only see new patients in office on Thursday, Fridays, and Saturdays. It's by appointment only. So if I don't have any new patients that week, then I don't necessarily go into the office unless I'm meeting someone for like follow up, or one of our established patients wants to come get a B12 or do one of our fat reduction treatments or something like that. So everything else is basically done, here in my home, right? On the computer, things of that nature. It gives me more time to, um, network and follow up and review, information and get education about new services and things that can benefit, our current patients plus any, potential new patients. So, even though, it can be nerve wracking, it's a lot of work, especially when you're a solo entrepreneur. I do have two independent contractors that work with me, but for the most part, they are here in administrative roles, social media, email communication, kind of along those lines, as far as the actual physical seeing patients, assessing, diagnosing, treating, reevaluating. It's all on me. But I do think in time, maybe by 2026, I'll be ready to trust somebody to train them to come in, and see my patients. I'm very protective of my patients. So this was just my little story time about, leaving the 9 to 5 life and embracing full-time nurse entrepreneurship. I see a lot of these kind of stories, but they're with the twist that people are leaving a 9 to 5 to do YouTube full time. And I ain't mad at them. If you got the subs, you get the watch hours, you get the views, more power to you. Because hey, do you. But this is what's right for me right now. This is how I want to spend my 50s. I'll be 50 in January. Just having more ownership over me and my calendar, my day, my life. And then not having a cap on how much money I can make, because I have the ability to market and things of that nature. And that's what I'm focusing on now. The healthcare side of it, I know that like the back of my hand. But the business side of it is frustrating. But when you get it, and you see it starting to come together, it's exciting, to have your own thing. So that's all I wanted to share with you guys, a little bit of what took me, out of the 9 to 5, like I'm done with it, and where I'm at now as far as being a full-time nurse entrepreneur. And Just looking at my notes, I think that was it. I think that was it, y'all. So I hope y'all having a good weekend. I am about to work on this thumbnail and get this loaded up, and hopefully you all will like it. All right. So I'm out. Peace.